hybrid and socially distanced in via WebEx and physically in the chamber in Strabane. So if I call the roll call first, Alderman Morris Devaney.
Here, Stephen.
Alderman Ryan McCready. Alderman David Ramsey.
An apology, Stephen.
Councillor Jason Barr.
You're online.
Councillor Sean Carr. Councillor Shauna Cusack.
Here, Stephen.
Councillor Gary Donnelly.
And sure, Stephen, I know Councillor Carr's hoping to join. He might be a bit late.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Rory Farrell.
Here.
Councillor Sean Harkin.
Here, Stephen.
Councillor Conor Heaney.
Sure, Stephen.
Councillor Patricia Logue. Councillor John McGowan.
And Shaw.
Councillor Ciaran Maguire. And Councillor Lillian Sino Barr.
Yes, Stephen.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm going to read the broadcast announcement. I would like to remind everyone present at this meeting in the Guildhall or in attendance remotely, or we're in Strabane today, but that this meeting will be broadcast live to the internet and will be capable of repeated viewing. This broadcast may be terminated or suspended in accordance with our protocol. Due to your attendance at this meeting, you are consenting to being filmed and the use of storage of these images for broadcasting or training purposes and for the purpose of keeping historical records and making those records available to the public. Members and approved speakers are reminded to only have their mics and cameras on while speaking at the meeting and to use the chat facility to highlight a request to speak. A copy of the Council privacy notice may be found on the Council website. Declaration of members' interest. If any member has an interest, you can declare that now. Okay. Moving on, I only have one item on chairperson's business. It's a request from Councillor Edwards. So if you would like to come on, please.
Chair, thank you very much, and thanks me for letting me raise this issue. I'm not a member of the committee, and I do believe it's an issue relevant to your committee here, Chair, with some overlap with environment and regeneration. Chair, I want to raise the issue around parking provision in Newton Street, where I, along with the other their councillors, met last year with the local traders group that wanted to look at some increased provision in the town. And this follows on from a retail health check a number of years ago that basically backs up their position. And the health check was scathing on parking provision in Newton Street, especially in terms of signage, lack of car parking spaces and increased congestion in the town. And Chair, I'm in the town very regularly. The traffic on Main Street is 3 cars deep on the Main Street, and I think this is completely unsustainable. And I think traders are of the view that it's putting off customers coming into their town and spending money in their town. Chair, the traders wrote to council late last year, I think it was December last year, and I believe officers met with the traders group in May this year. And there was commitments given to them. Firstly, there was commitment given to look at the existing car park, specifically around pedestrian access, and look at the footpaths leading into the existing car park, along with some illegal storage that was happening there. I don't think anything has happened though, Chair. And secondly, there was also a request to look at additional car parking for Newton Street, along with a master plan for the town itself. I haven't seen any movement on this, Chair, neither have traders, and they are growing increasing discontent around the lack of action on it, and they do feel forgotten about. In my view, Chair, I'm going to wind it up here. I do think there's some quick wins in terms of the existing car park provision there and making it a bit more accessible for people, and also in terms of having a master plan and looking at potential sites for new car parking provision. I think there's a lot of baseline information there to say that the retail health check is there, and it clearly expresses issues around parking in Newton Stewart. And in this context here, I would be grateful if a report could be brought back to this committee to provide an update along with a timeline and any potential schemes that could be brought forward for Newton Stewart Town. And Chair, I'm not a member of the committee, but Councillor Jason Barr has informed me he's happy to propose that he's able to come under in the chat box. But Chair, overall, thank you for letting me raise this issue.
Okay, Stephen.
Yeah, I'm obviously happy to bring a report back, but just to clarify for Councillor Edwards, we did bring a report through a number of months ago on car parks. We are progressing with 4 repairs to 4 car parks, of which Newton Stewart is one of them. That repair work is currently being written up. The design work is being done. It'll be out to tender shortly, and we expect that to be completed by May. So I suppose it's not, I know you're not on the committee, so you might not have seen the paper, but it is that repair work to the existing car park is progressing. In terms of the master plan, you will be aware that covers environment regeneration or leading on the master plan, but it involves a number of officers from B and C as well. Those initial meetings have happened in relation to the off-street or the on-street car parking. That's obviously a responsibility of DFI, and we're liaising with them to see in an overall process for Newton Stewart between parking and a number of other issues, how can we involve them in that process and make sure that we produce a master plan for the town. So that process has started, maybe not progress as quickly as we would like, but it is progressing. But we'll certainly bring a more detailed report back next month for Councillor Edwards. And what I'll do is I'll talk to our colleagues in Environment and Regeneration and bring the same report through both committees so that everybody has sight of it.
Okay, happy, Councillor Edwards?
Yep, Chair, happy. Thanks, Stephen. Thanks for those comments and look forward to the report. Thank you.
So item 6, matters arising from open minutes. Does anyone have any matters arising? Councillor Farrell?
Yeah, thanks, Chair. And it's item BC 140. It's the Northern Ireland Business Startup Programme. So we had a wide range in discussion at the last meeting. There was a lack of clarity in terms of funding from Invest NI, and our understanding was that there was going to be further engagement with Invest NI in the interim period. So is there any update? Is there any clarity? Will they be making any sort of contribution at all to this?
Yeah, no, there was that. So the meeting has taken place, and Invest NI have confirmed that they will be in a position to come in with funding for the next financial year. The quantum of that they haven't confirmed. They're still working through some detail on that, but they were very positive. I have an initial figure, which I'd rather not just say today, because there's just some I's to be dotted and T's to be crossed. But yeah, they've confirmed that they're going to come in on top of the figure that the Department of Level and Up are going to hopefully come in on with too, which is really good news. So hopefully, in terms of a firm sort of say a paper to take back to this committee, I would imagine that the next committee will have more detail on exactly what that's going to look like and what that's going to mean for us as a council in terms of our exposure to the programme.
Well done, Kevin. Councillor Halsey?
Thank you, Chair. Another member of the committee for the opportunity, but it's to go back, with your permission, to Councillor Edwards' issue. It's just to ask Stephen, have the local traders and other interested parties in Newton Stewart been kept up to date as the plans have progressed? Because I think it's important to keep people on board and to, let them understand where council are at, and indeed their local knowledge input is important on the issue too. So have they been kept up to date? Has there been regular engagement with those concerned? Thank you, Chair.
I sent a letter this week to one of the representatives on behalf of an email letter to update him because he had asked for specific concerns. We haven't re-engaged with the traders yet until we have our internal discussions, but we will arrange that before Christmas. Because you're right, I mean, it's important that they're kept on board, but at the same time, it's a process that we have to go through, and there's no point in having a meeting for the sake of it either. But we will take that on board and have regular update meetings as we get through the process with the master plan.
Appreciate it, Chair. Thank you.
Councillor Farr, you indicate you want it back?
Cheers, Chair. And it's just a brief supplementary on Kevin's response regarding Invest NI. I had a look at the Invest NI website over the weekend, and I found on there a council briefing from June 2022, which detailed the performance and outputs across Derry and Strabane for the last year, and in fact, the last 5 years. But the document is online. We haven't had the actual council briefing. So are we expecting a delegation in the near future from Invest NI? Because I know they were regular attenders here, which was really, really welcome. But we haven't seen them in a while. Are we going to be seeing them shortly?
I can certainly ask that question. Yeah.
Happy? Yeah. Okay. So I don't see anybody else in the chat box. Can we move on to item 7? Access and inclusion update, please.
Yeah, so thank you, Chair. Members, this report is to seek your approval for the initiation of a review process of access audits completed for council-based cultural venues, that is the council area-based cultural venues, to seek members your approval for a reprofile of the granted award allocated to Brady District Ulster Scots Development Association. Members, you will be aware through the Access and Inclusion Programme we've facilitated the completion of access audits in 35 cultural venues across the city and district. These audits have informed the subsequent delivery and allocation of the access programme for cultural organisations granted. It's enabled a significant number of organisations to complete all access within their access audits, but the recent COVID crisis has forced our cultural organisations to adjust their programming to better meet the needs of their audiences. And as a result of this change in environment and programme behaviour, it's evident that many of the existing audits require a review. So the cultural, and in addition to that, members, the parallel issue here is in the cultural granted paper of April 2021, we provided you with the results of the Access Programme for Cultural Organisations granted assessment. Brady District Ulster Scots Development Association, which were identified as organisation C in that appendix, secured just under £30,000 through the programme for access improvements to the environs of the Solace Centre. In a subsequent report, we sought and secured your approval to extend the programme, the letter of offer, into this year for that organisation because of the challenges they face in the delivery of the delivery of the project. So to go back to the audit issue, of those organisations that have an audit, 10 have indicated they would need a review. And in addition, there are 2 other organisations that require a full access audit. For one organisation, this will be their first audit, and for the other, it will be an audit that includes a new venue. So members, Brady and Ulster Scots have confirmed that they have been unable to obtain the required sublease approval for the car park adjacent to the Solace Centre, for which the access improvements were for. This was the majority of the award that they were of the financial award they were given under the letter of offer. And following meetings with the group to review the other outstanding in their audit, it is recommended that the existing letter of offer is adjusted to allow the organisation to deliver upon these actions. And a summary of these is outlined in the appendix to this report. The members, the additional access audits, the costs are around, estimated cost is £10,000, which can be drawn from member approved rates-based budget for this current year. The proposed Brady and District Ulster Scots Development Association award, you've already approved it, and it is to be drawn from members' approved rates budgets for this year. Furthermore, this project will also be submitted for external support via the DFC Access Programme whenever it becomes available later in the year. In instance where subsequent external support has been secured, Council will still be required to provide 10% match funding. Members should note that this match potential funding can currently be accommodated, but given the current financial climate, that agreed agreement on this budget will be subject to detailed discussions with the lead finance officer via the rates process, and no awards will be made until the overall departmental budget has been approved. Members, you're asked to approve the initiation of the review process of the access audits completed for council area-based cultural venues and the commissioning of 2 new access audits, and to approve the proposed reprofile of the grant aid allocated to Brady and Ulster Scots Development Association for the improvements to the Solace Centre, and the details of which are there for your information in the appendix.
Thank you, Aileen. Councillor Logue and then Councillor Devaney.
Thank you, Aileen. I'm just a wee bit, I suppose, confused. I see the appendix where it's saying the proposal, but where does that fit in with the current audit? And, you know, has that got, you know, what bearing would that have? Are those capital works, is that the car park that they can't get the lease for? But I'm more concerned about where it fits in from the existing audit, albeit that I do recognise that you're saying that other audits may need to be carried out. Thank you.
So these are two separate issues. One is that we have now probably, so I'll deal with the audit issue first, which we're asking for your approval to proceed with redoing the 10 audits plus 2 new ones. So in effect, those audits, all those organisations either have got everything they need, but there are some now changes. So COVID has required, so the organisations basically we need to refresh those audits, which is one issue. The Brady issue is that they have an existing audit that identifies, most of the organisations have audits. They wouldn't have had all of their audit met with one grant aid. So they've been running those audits for a number of years, you know, making incremental improvements. So the Brady and Ulster Scots, they don't need a new audit to do the work that we're proposing to be reprofiled. They had their car park in and they had other items on their audit. So they're now not going to be able to proceed with the car park. So the Access and Inclusion Coordinator has met with them, and we're proposing to reprofile the audit award that was made for the car park into other items on the audit, which are listed in the appendix. So they're all covered under the previous audit that the Solace Centre had done. We awarded them a letter of offer for the car park work, which they deemed to be priority, but they're not going to be able to proceed with that because they haven't been able to get the lease. So they've really moved, I suppose, to simplify it, they've moved to the next things on the list from the audit. So they can't proceed with the car park. So from discussions, they have basically moved to whatever's left on the audit. So that's what's in the proposal. But because we need to bring this back to you because we awarded a letter of offer under that programme, and extended the time frame around it to give them time to try and sort out their lease. But they've confirmed that that's definitely not going to be able to proceed. So it's sort of put to the side, and this is what they want to reprofile this to other items, but they're also all covered by their current audit.
Thank you, Aileen.
Councillor Devaney.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me in, and thank Aileen for bringing forward the report here. Chair, I have no problem in proposing the recommendations here. When we look at 5.1, the review of audits for review of those 10 audits and 2 new ones, no problem with that either. And 5.2, look, I really understand. I know the issue with the Brady Ulster Scots, with the Solar Centre, and around the issue about the car park. But I do believe, as Aileen has said, look, the car park, the end of it isn't going to work out. So they have moved on to other items that they find that needs a piece of work done, you know, around disabled access and stuff like that there. So I'm very, very happy to propose, Chair, the recommendations.
And Councillor Farrell.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks, Aileen, for the report. Just one question about the audit. So it's recommendation 5.1 about the 10 grand estimated cost. Is the audit going to be done in-house, or is it going to be done by external consultants, or is it a mixture?
It's done by external. There's a particular specialist expertise required in doing those audits, so they're done. Now they're very much supported by the in-house team, but it is external.
So I don't hear any dissenting voices. Can we? Yeah, we have a proposal. Can we? Yeah.
Second, Chair.
Second. Councillor Donnelly. So, can we just move on then? Item 8, Heart of the Sperrins. You back up again, Nadine.
Thank you, Chair. So, members, the purpose of this report is to inform you of a letter of offer we've received from the Arts Council of Northern Ireland for the delivery of an arts and older people project entitled The Heart of the Sperrins Round 2, which is due to commence hopefully this month, and to seek your approval for an allocation of approved budget resources to meet the remaining project costs. The Arts Council have approved funding support of £8,000 for an older people focused project entitled Heart of the Sperrins Round 2. This project will engage older residents in the city and district's rural areas, which were particularly highlighted in the February 2021 Northwest Audience Development and Research Project as being underrepresented in arts and culture activities. The issues affecting our older people are not unique, but the last 2 years have made them much more acute, and particularly in relation to issues of isolation and loneliness, which has impacted on the mental well-being of our older citizens. This project will be delivered in partnership with our own museum service, care homes and the local community growth partnerships. The project will use facilitators with relevant specialisms for this age group. The project will provide 6 participatory sessions from a range of disciplines and art forms identified by health cares and recruit local facilitators across a range of disciplines. The project will complement the activities outlined in the Northwest Audience Development Plan, and as I said, will be designed to address feelings of isolation and loneliness which have been felt by older people, and particularly exacerbated by the effects of the pandemic. It's envisaged that the project will engage up to 120 participants in a 6-month programme of activities across a range of art forms. And again, the exact nature of the creative interventions will be determined based on the specific needs of each participating individual and group. The project will be delivered within those rural areas of the district identified to have lower level of arts and culture engagement, as outlined in the Audience Development Research Report. There are no significant issues, other issues in relation to equality, rural needs, climate change or data protection, and the total project has been costed at just under £14,000, of which £8,000 has been awarded from the Arts Council, with the remaining budget which can be met from members' approved arts development and museum services budget. So members, you're asked to approve the acceptance of this Arts Council letter of offer and to approve the allocation of the match fund from departmental budgets.
Okay, Councillor Devaney.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me in again, and welcome the report coming forward here. And I have no problem in making a proposal that we accept this report. I think this is going some way to address some of the issues within our rural areas. And, you know, when we look at as Aidan has just said, and around isolation and loneliness, you know, it affects a lot of people within rural areas, and especially those who live on their own and in very quiet, remote areas. And, you know, she has quite rightly said, you know, this is targeted in the areas where there are lower levels of arts and culture participation. And I think anything on that line has to be welcome, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Devaney. Councillor Logan, then Councillor Barr.
I'd just like to second that proposal, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Logan, and Councillor Barr now.
Grand job. I was just going to go on the second there, but just again, they thank Aidan for the report, and just like Councillor Devaney stated, very welcome to see within the rural Sperrins area. So, yep, very welcome. Thanks very much.
Okay, nobody else in the box. So, item 9, digital transformation and flexible fund. Over to Kevin.
Thank you, Chair. Members, the purpose of this report is to update you on the development of a collaborative approach to deliver an SME digital transformation across Northern Ireland's city and growth deals, and also to seek your approval for this council to participate in the £7.5 million Digital Transformation Flexible Fund on an NI-wide basis. I suppose the background to this project lies within the advent of this council getting its city deal and inclusive future fund, and then in addition to that, the other areas, Belfast Region City deal, Mid and South West, and Causeway Coast city and growth deal announcements over the last number of years. So the other councils were awarded a complementary fund, and as part of that complementary fund, digital transformation was highlighted as a key kind of area in which they wanted to focus on. So as part of this focus, the concept of this digital transformation flexible fund was developed, and it was developed in response to, from a Northern Ireland perspective, and even when you think about it from a UK point of view, levels of innovation and digital transformation are quite low. Levels of innovation here in Northern Ireland are even lower than that of UK, and lower than that than the island of Ireland as a totality. So the fund itself aims to address the financial barriers that small businesses face when seeking to transform digitally by establishing a capital grant fund that will support investment in all types of digital equipment considered to be critical for digital transformation. So hardware, software, bespoke system development and this type of thing. So from a Derry City and Strabane perspective, we obviously got our City Deal and Inclusive Future Fund announcement, signed our heads of terms back in February 21 as part of our Innovation, Digital and Health pillar. When we were putting forward our strategic outline cases, we developed a digital and smart innovation proposal. This was an £11 million programme, £11 million ring fence to deliver capital investment across the three areas highlighted below. So that was an investment in digital infrastructure, that's public Wi-Fi, Internet of Things, infrastructure, data storage, urban and rural open data systems and structures. The second area was around challenge funds and SME digital capability funding, and the third area was around investment in our innovation ecosystem. So as members will be aware, that we're in the process of developing and finalising our outline business case from a Derry City and Strabane perspective. We haven't yet signed our financial terms, so we're not in a position to get funds released just yet. Hopefully that time will come pretty quickly. So whenever the complementary fund was announced, we were keen to ensure that we were involved in what was going to be developed right across Northern Ireland to ensure that there wasn't going to be a gap in delivery in this council area. So we have participated, albeit, as observers pretty much, in the development of the Digital Transformation Fund. And as part of their business case process, roughly when you look at the pro-rated down percentages, we would be our sort of the ring fencing from our fund will be around 450k of our City Deal money would need to go into the flexible fund for us to become full partners in that. In addition, DAERA have been very keen to try to ensure that there is adequate delivery across the rural areas and have come to the table with 1.1 million of funding, which boosts the funding in its entirety, 7.5 million. So it's detailed within the report that BRCD and the other city and growth deals have been working away in their OBC and are close to getting that into the system for approval. I'll not go through the full details of the project. They're listed in the report itself, and as are the outcomes that have been developed through the OBC process itself. But I will highlight that key to it is around stimulation of SMEs, micro enterprises and social enterprises. It's around addressing the financial barriers around digital technology adoption. The jobs targets that they're projecting are around 1,300 jobs across across Northern Ireland, and then GVA addition around 30 million, 2.1 million in this council area if we were to participate on that pro-rated basis. So it comes to the point now where we need to decide whether or not we are going to participate, and there are a number of options on the table as far as we can see. So from working across the group, officers are recommending option one as the preferred option, i.e. a phased participation model to ensure that there is support when this fund does eventually become available. And I would anticipate that with a fair one, that we could be talking around June of 23, whenever businesses can access this funding once they go through all the bureaucracy and business cases and approvals and stuff like that. So as to ensure that we're not disadvantaged at that point, that we potentially use the proportion of DERA funding that is available to us now at this point in time to be eligible for the first call of projects that goes out there around June. And then once our City Deal money becomes available, then we get involved in call 2, call 3 and call 4 after that. So then there is 2 other options: delayed participation, i.e. we don't do anything. We may miss out on calls 1 and 2, but when our City Deal does become available, we can join the programme then. And then call 3 is that we don't participate in the programme, option 3 is that we don't participate in the programme and we develop our own from a Derry City and Strabane District Council perspective. There's a financial ask in relation to this, and for us to get on board at this stage, obviously City Deal money is capital funding, so there's a revenue cost to this. So in this financial year, if we wanted to continue being part of the club, it would require us to commit about £7,672 in this financial year. Then, if we do become full partners, the totality for that next 3 years is 53,233, and that's split over the 3 years. So that would obviously have to become subject to further rates process beyond that. So the recommendation is that members approve the recommendation outlined in 3.1 and proceed with the preferred option 1. And then officers then continue to engage with the BRCD in the development of the OBC, and then obviously approve the financial contribution of 7,672. And further paper will then be brought forward following the successful approval of the business case, seeking approval for further revenue funding highlighted in 4.3.
Thank you, Kevin. Councillor Heaney.
Thanks, Chair, and thanks to Kevin for the report. I think this is a positive development and an opportunity for us, and I'm happy to propose the recommendation on that basis. And we also support the preferred option as the way forward in taking this on. I suppose I have one question. Is there opportunities in this to partner with Donegal County Council in any shape or form, given that we do so in many other aspects, and digital transformation will become a regional issue as much as anything else. So just seeing if there is any opportunities there. Thanks, Chair.
So it's UK. The capital funding is either Northern Ireland Executive, it's a mix of Northern Ireland Executive and UK government funding. So in terms of the capital grants, they would only be eligible for, in our case, businesses and social enterprises within the Derry City and Strabane District Council area. Nevertheless, like everything we do, we are in constant dialogue with colleagues within Donegal Local Enterprise Office around wider regional digital transformation. There's absolutely no reason why we couldn't look at how our digitally transformed businesses collaborate on a cross-border basis then with other businesses. We are, as part of the Northwest Development Group working on a couple of projects, digital projects driven through EarnAct and the Northwest Development Group around similar topic areas. I think there's a bit to be done around raising awareness. So it's not always just around the investment in equipment or in infrastructure. It's also around raising awareness across the region for our SMEs and micros around the importance of it. So I think that an awareness raising thing isn't something it's something we definitely should be doing and could be doing. But in terms of the capital grants, they'll be for our own council area. But I take the point, and there's no reason why we can't promote the concept, Councillor Heaney, regionally.
Councillor Logue and then Councillor Devaney.
I definitely agree. This is a great opportunity to be participating in, but could you just see the option 1 and where it says the first call utilising the proportionality of the DARA funding, 7% equating to the 77,000 of capital costs? Where's that coming from? I don't see it mentioned in the report, you know. If you could just explain that, Kevin.
So our proportionality as a council is 7%. So we'll be entitled to 7%. So whenever the way it's broken down, so we'll get 7% of the totality of the fund, albeit 450,000 if it's coming from our city, from our own city deal, which is within our digital pillar. So they're just applying that formula to the DARA funding. So that's what, you know, so when DARA splits it up through councils, they have a percentage. So that was what ours would equate to from the 1.1 million. Yeah, DARA bringing 1.1 million to the table, 7% of that, 77,000. Well, there's business cases that are still going through the system. This has to go to DFE. BRCD need to take this to DFE, and gladly we're able to allow BRCD to do the heavy lifting on that. So once that's approved, then DARA will come in then with their letter of offer. So what we want to ensure is that you wouldn't be in a position where every other council area in Northern Ireland is delivering this intervention to their businesses, and we're not. No, but that's where the 7% comes from, DARA.
I just wanted to query that.
Yeah,
that was
that's
from
7% of 1.1 million.
Councillor Farrell. Councillor Devaney and Councillor Farrell.
Thank you, Chair, for allowing me in, and just say thanks to Kevin, and I welcome the report here. And as somebody has said earlier on, this is very, very positive news, and I believe our party have no problem in supporting 5.1 and 5.2 here. So I'd be happy to second the recommendation. I don't think it has been seconded yet, and I think anything that helps and enhances the digital transformation within the council area, it's vitally important that we keep our hand in there. As Kevin has quite rightly stated, you know, when City Deal comes on, we can move in a bit deeper then as it comes on board. But Chair, happy to second the recommendation. Thanks.
Thank you. And Councillor Farrell.
Thanks, Chair. Thanks, Kevin. It's obviously really, really important that we're involved in this because there's massive opportunities presented. Digital innovation and transformation has the potential to create economic growth and jobs right across the city and district. But one question, it says on here that we've got 450k earmarked within the City Deal for the Digital Transformation Flexible Fund. And so the 7.5 million in total is for every council area that has a City Deal element, yeah? And are we contributing 450 grand into that pot, or is our 450 grand completely separate and we're bidding on the 7.5 for extra?
So the digital, there's 6 million from the other city and growth deals as part of their complementary fund. There's 1.1 million from DARA, and then there's 450,000. So that brings it up to roughly 7.5 million. We could take a decision that, you know what, we're within our digital pillar of City Deal, you know, roughly in our business case at the minute, we'd allocated about 500,000 for this type of intervention, not necessarily exactly that intervention. So it just makes sense to us to align that now to the broader programme, to gain the economies of scale, and also to ensure that there's uniformity of delivery from the get-go, basically, whenever they do get over the line. And this, obviously, is all subject to business case approval from a DFE perspective, but our 450 is our money from City Deal, but we're just going to align it to that, and that's what brings the pot up to the 7.5 million.
And then we have to bid under the 7.5. We don't have to.
We're guaranteed. Our businesses are guaranteed. I can't remember the exact figure, but we get a ring-fenced target of businesses which can benefit. So the grants are guaranteed. Everything's guaranteed for Derry City and Strabane, and it'll be up to us to ensure that our businesses take up. Now, the economies of scale come from a centralized, delivery, procurement and management, process at Newry Morning Down are assuming at the minute. But it'll be up to us to make sure that our social enterprises and businesses are aware of the fund and can access it. And we'll have a job of work to do to get them ready to access the fund too. That's that awareness piece that I was chatting about earlier.
My concern was that we're investing nearly $500,000 in this, and there's no guarantee that we're getting it back. But no, that's fine and understood. Thank you, Kevin.
Well done, Kevin. I think we're all agreed that there's going to be at least 35, I think it's 35 minimum capital projects in the council area, and I think we're all agreed that that's the way forward. So well done. We can move on now. Sorry, so there's no dissent. It's unanimous, and that again is the proposer, the secretary. We'll move on to item 10 now. Update on the Labour Market Partnership, and it's Kevin again, isn't it?
Thanks, Chair. Members, the purpose of this report is to update you on the progress on the establishment of the interim LMP, to update you on and seek approval on the appointment of Enterprise Northwest to deliver the Enterprise Plus programme, and also to seek your approval going forward for the procurement of a range of programmes on the LMP 22-23 action plan. Members will be well aware that we previously we've obviously established the interim Derry and Strabane Labour Market Partnership under the DFC's Employability NI framework. So those structures are starting to bed in. We had previously taken forward the action plan and got your approval on that. Since then, we've appointed our LMP manager, and our LMP project officer are in place. So the action plan is starting to be delivered, and progress is starting to be made on that action plan itself, which is really good. So within the action plan, there are a number of strategic priorities. The first strategic priority is around actually setting up the structures of the LMP itself. And you'll note that as we move forward now to establishing the formal LMP beyond the interim, we're seeking membership from across the city and district, from the Jobs and Benefits Office, from the Western Health and Social Care Trust, from Invest NI, the Education Authority, FEHE, housing associations, employers, the community and voluntary sector, representatives from disability, women and youth sectors itself. So that's all in train. Strategic priority number 2 is to improve employability outcomes and at the in the local labour market. So within the action plan, there's a number of interventions, from getting people ready to work through into training and employment. There's creating pathway programs. There's growing the number of apprenticeships. The Enterprise Plus programme, which we're seeking to make that appointment on. And then there's the lifelong learning side of the LMP itself. Crucially, all of these interventions are around focusing on the economically inactive and trying to tackle this issue. From our perspective, it's great to have that local flexibility in terms of the programs, because we feel, and the sector, right across the sector and the representatives on that interim partnership, we feel that we have a better understanding at a local level of the needs within Derry City and Strabane District Council area. Then the third strategic priority is around supporting the delivery of employability NI, and that's around increasing awareness and understanding of the employability programs. Whenever they were doing the research and building the case and collecting the data and information around the LMP action plan, a key area of focus was around even raising awareness of the programs that were available, raising awareness of the jobs vacancies that were available. And you'll note that we, a couple of weeks ago, we had 2 very successful job fairs, one in Strabane and one in Derry. and we have an apprenticeship fair scheduled for this week, I think. And so that's all part of that LMP work itself. This is obviously 100% funded, and the budgets are outlined in 4.2. So the recommendation is that members note the contents of the report, approve the appointment of Enterprise Northwest to deliver that Enterprise Plus programme, and also give approval to proceed with the financial commitment and procurement arrangements as set out above to procure the interventions cited in the action plan itself. All appointments then will be entered under the register of decision, and a further report coming back to members to inform them of the outcome of that at a later date.
I don't see anybody in the box. Councillor Lowe.
No, Kevin, thanks very much for this. I think this is another good news story and certainly has to be welcomed. And it is good, as you mentioned, speaking there, but also on the report that it's going to be localised and it is going to touch the hardest to reach. And, you know, I think that's recognised that a local approach is the best approach in all things. So again, that has to be welcomed. I suppose the only thing that I would have to mention, and I would ticket this, is because there is no executive that they could only proceed with the 1 year budget, and that's an issue. But other than that, I'd like to propose this report. Thank you.
Councillor Farrell.
Yeah, thanks, Chair, and thanks, Kevin. And I think it's timely. You know, today we got the labour market report, which showed that unemployment has increased in Derry and Strabane, and we're still highest in the north. And I've done a bit of research last month, and Northern Ireland has the highest rate of economic inactivity across the 12 regions of the UK. And Derry City and Strabane District Council has the highest rate of economic inactivity in the north. So we've got the highest rate of economically inactive in the area with the highest rate of economic inactivity. So I think it is important that we have a local approach and a local solution to a local problem, which is trying to get people into work. So that should be welcomed. And I would share Councillor Logue's concern about, you know, the budget that has been made available. Is there any soundings that could increase to the previously stated level that was in the initial letter of offer?
Yeah. So, you know, department officials are saying that they're working to make that happen. I'm not fully. I wouldn't just fully confirm that it was it's around the lack of exam. I'm not 100% sure, and that's, so I don't want to maybe comment on that. But they're keen for that to happen. The challenge for us will be if that decision doesn't. You know, we're in October now, so we're you know, halfway through the financial year. All of these spending commitments have to be delivered within the financial year. That's the way it works. It's not ideal. Really, what you would want is obviously a 3 or 4 year commitment to be able to deliver over the totality of that. And, you know, I think that the flexibility that it brings in relation to the localised decision making is great. So it would be also great to be able to be flexible within programme, within budgets, so that you could react. Do you know, things, as we all know, we're living in this fairly dynamic world now where things are changing all the time. So it would be better even if we had that flexibility on a multi-annual basis. To give us as a council even surety around how we deliver going forward and project. But there's a real willingness within the department for that to happen.
Thank you. So a second from Councillor Farrell. Okay, well done on our good news story. Move on now, just open for information. Item 11 and item 12, can we take them together? Okay. Item 13. Stephen wants to make a point.
Yeah, sorry, members. If you're read through the report, you realize Enterprise Week is not the correct title. It should have been Digital Surge. That was our mistake when we went down to committee section. We couldn't change it because the agenda and so on had already gone out. But it's just a typo in there when we sent it down. But the paper is correct. It's just the title should be Digital Surge.
So Digital Surge, item 13, or item 14. Anyone? Any issues? And item 14 and item 15. I don't see anybody in the box. Okay. So we can move on to item 16, which is confidential. So I'll let the technical people do that.